Step 4 is trimming the heels. What I'm going to do when I trim the heels is I want to have an imaginary line that goes between the opposite cuspid and the middle of the second molar, so the 7s. So what I'm looking for is a line that goes through my cuspid, through the middle of my 7, and then I'm going to flatten off this heel area. So that's what I'm going to do now. I'm not going to draw on my model. So let's go back over to the trimmer and make our heels. So to line up my model to get the proper angle and the proper area for my heel is I'm going to line this point that I made from my anterior region that's right at the cuspid. I want to line this point up with the center line on my trimmer. I want to imagine this line running from my cuspid straight through the 7 and it being straight. So if I moved this away, I'm lined right up here. From the cuspid through the middle of the second molar. When we trim our heels, we only want the heel to be between 1 centimeter and 1.5 centimeters in width. If you're using an imperial measurement, you want it to be between 1/2 inch and 3/4 of an inch wide. So we're going to go ahead and trim our heels, and then we're going to measure them. When I measure my heels, I can see that I've made it almost 2 centimeters wide. That's way too wide. This one is more than 1.5 centimeters as well. So what I can do with this is, because I left room in my posterior area, I can bring the posterior back a little bit more without trimming off my tuberosity. This will shorten the heels. I could also go in on my lateral borders and bring it in more. It again would shorten my heels. So that's why when I make my first cuts, I don't want to have them too far in. I want to make sure that I have room to alter other measurements as I go. So I'm going to go ahead now and I'm going to try to even up all my angles and get everything just perfect. So now that I've finished trimming my model, I'm going to check all of my angles. I'm going to put it down on the counter and I'm going to check and make sure that my step number 1, my posterior, is perpendicular. My step number 2 is my lateral borders. I want to make sure that all of my borders are parallel. I want to make sure that my anterior portion is straight, that the points are at my cuspids, and the center is at the midline. I'm going to check and make sure that my posterior is also straight. The other thing that I want to check is I'm going to use a pencil to measure and make sure that I'm 1/4 of an inch on all of my angles all the way around. I don't want anything over trimmed, so I want at least a pencil width all the way around.